Welcome back, Freelancers Undefeated Rescue, and we're continuing with the Gear Showcase series. We're back in the Colossus today. A handful of people hanging out here, but we'll head out into Bastion and showcase some gear. Okay, so we are back in the heavy assault launchers, and we are going over Garred's hammer. So Garred's hammer is the second most powerful component in the game, or sorry, gear in the game. Ruthless Stalker, I believe, for the Interceptor is the most powerful. I think it does 18,000 approximate damage, where this one does about 16,000 approximate damage. So Garred's hammer, it's an upgraded railgun. Combo effect is blast, and then the railgun permanently gains an extra gear charge. So yeah, as we went over, it does 16,000 damage. However, what it does on top of that is it's got the armor break icon, which indicates it does additional damage against armored enemies. And this recharge is 5, which actually isn't bad. That's pretty middle road. 5 or 6 is pretty much standard, like kind of a reasonable time to recharge for most gear. It is a detonator, so it will apply to the combo effects as well. And then the only one I have right now, I've been kind of clearing out my inventory because I don't like it to be too close to the max. Just because of reasons. But this one's like my damage one. So in GM1, it's gonna pretty much decimate, and it's got additional charge on it too. So I think I'll have 3 charges total. Let's go out and showcase the gear. And then we are in GM1, and we're back in the dungeon. So out of all of the gear, this is, I think, the only one for the assault launchers that requires it to charge up. We'll go ahead and test it against shields. So GM1, it takes the shield down instantly, does a little bit of health, and it takes down their health with about 80 damage. And your numbers might vary. This is all based on my builds. And as you can see, it's not really... So the thing about this gear piece, I think it's called Jared's hammer. Now I'm looking at the spelling, I'm like, that might be different. You see how, like, this guy was standing right next to the other one and he didn't take any damage because it's really like a single point type of damage. It's not like blast. Let me rephrase that. It's not like, it doesn't have an area, a blast area. So if an enemy's standing right next to him, it's not actually going to hit that enemy. It's only going to hit realistically the one you're aiming at. However, I have had inconsistent issues with that, or not issues. I've just seen inconsistencies with that, where like it will affect primed enemies in that area. But for like example, like this guy in the back, I'm gonna hit him, and it didn't affect him at all, and it didn't affect this one at all either. So it's not going to be very useful if you're trying to detonate a large group. But I'm getting pretty consistent numbers. 80,000 for shield break, or sorry, 80,000 for like weak point, and then about 25 for, well, 26 pretty consistently for just normal base damage. Yeah, all those yellow numbers you're seeing, those are weak points. So I'm just getting really lucky here that I'm hitting them all in the dome. Yeah, see, like if I aim a little bit lower with it, yeah, it still kind of tracks a little bit. And I got the weak point one. Nice. But it doesn't take too long to charge either. It's about the same as anything else that has to charge, and then there is a little bit of an animation there. But because I have, so you've got the additional recharge, which basically by the time you've charged one of these up, you probably should have gotten a recharge back. Another thing with this is, like I was kind of talking about earlier, is it doesn't really have like a blast radius, so you're only going to be able to deal with, like, and as you see right there, I just hit this guy in the middle of this group and didn't hit any of them, and that's mostly what I've been seeing, and nothing indicates that it should be hitting anyone else. So that's like kind of like the downside to me, is it's only going to deal with one enemy at a time, and I think that's why it does so much damage. That's like the trade-off, is that it'll do a lot of damage, but it's only going to do a lot of damage to one enemy. Ooh, man, that ranger team. Rushing in. Let me get rid of the storm real quick, and then we'll take on these armored enemies. I'll try to take on the armored enemies, because it should do a lot more damage against them. So with the normal outlaw, it's doing about 53 and then 80 for weak points. Let's see what we're doing on here. Yeah, so we're doing 120 for weak points on armored. Let's see if we can, and then about 80 for non. So pretty much what I was doing weak point damage to the red bar enemy types, I'm doing as just normal damage to the armored ones. So it's definitely very good against armored enemies. But usually when things are really good against armor, they're usually pretty bad against shields. But I'm not even gonna need so very powerful against armored enemy types, and still just in general really good. It's a solid option for DPS, and it's also, as we'll see when we go into GM3, it's also a solid option for a detonator. Okay, so we're back in the Necropolis, and I brought Rubidian's Furnace with me. So what my plan is for that, when I do get to the point where I'm going to start detonating enemy types, is basically I'll launch a Rubidian's Furnace from across the map, and then the range on Jared's hammer isn't like, it seems like it's not necessarily that it's unlimited, but it reaches pretty far. And actually I take that back. Now it's looking like it's kind of unlimited, because that's pretty far. That's like really far. So I should be able to hit one of these guys from up here. So pretty good. And that was a weak point. Like another weak point. So there's some kind of a tracking here. Actually, there's actually really good tracking here. Let me see how far away I can get from. So it's still trying to track to them even from there. So that's just interesting. But yeah, so the reason I like Gerald's hammer is because well, I'm not going to be able to detonate that, or let me see if I can get them. Is because I can be kind of across the arena and detonate that enemy from across there. And it kind of, see, this is what I'm saying, it looked like I just detonated all those enemies. But we'll test this against their shield. So, okay damage. And it almost took it down in one shot. And then how about against them? So weak point wise, I'm starting to see this might be a better weak point build than Flat Cannon actually. I don't know, that's still kind of questionable because Flat Cannon still has all the pellets. That's just me talking out loud of thoughts. But even in GM3, it's doing pretty good. Though these dungeons don't really, for testing purposes, they don't really translate very well. Even though they translate well to strongholds, they don't really translate well to bosses in strongholds, like the monitor. So that's something that this potentially could be weak against. But because it's going to weak points, it makes me feel like it could be really good. It's something I'm going to try and do some testing on my own afterwards. But yeah. So like right there, like that's just the downside to it, is that it's just hitting that one enemy, and it looked like it detonated all of them. So detonation wise, I guess it'll detonate in an area, it'll detonate a group. It just won't hit enemies. We'll test it again and see that. But like I said, I've had consistency issues with that, and that was just because I didn't prime anybody. Oh, I missed. That was just me 100% missing. Yeah, see, now it's not really doing it. So that's it's weird. It's just not consistent, and I would not recommend. I would just assume that this does not detonate. Well, see, even then, again, it's kind of doing it now. Before it wasn't, so I don't know. Maybe you need to do your own testing. Maybe yours will be better, I guess. But I've been seeing issues here with the consistency, and nothing says that it should be doing that. So let's see if we can trick shot them. Yep, we got them. Although they are up there. Wait, what? Oh, I thought they died. That was so weird. Okay, so now we got some armored enemies. Let's test it against them. Still doing really good damage against armored enemies. More than it is doing against normal enemy types. I'm just going to finish them off real quick. So yeah, about 90,000 weak points for them and about 130. So it's actually doing more in GM. Oh, it's back to... Let's go ahead and try and combo all these guys and see if we can get it to see like they're all getting comboed. So the combo effect seems like it doesn't follow the pattern that the normal single point does. It seems like if you've stay on the fire and warm up real quick. But it seems like from my testing that combos are the way to go if you want to hit a group. And then that's why I feel like Rubidian's Furnace is probably the best for this. I mean, you can use anything to prime a group. It really doesn't have to be that, but... Okay, so there's one more enemy, and then it'll take on the ranger. All right, let's see here. So it takes about a third of their shield. Oh, I'm frozen again. Darn it. So it took about 4 technically to get their shield down. Damage-wise, it's doing about 90,000. Trying to get a weak point on them. They keep freezing me though, so that makes it hard. I mean, he's doing consistent damage, if anything. There we go. About 120. Same thing it was doing to the other armored enemies. You see how like they dodged at the last second? So that's an issue you're gonna have to deal with too. Is even though it has really good tracking, essentially you can miss if they're able to dodge out of the way. Okay, so let's compare it to some of the other stuff in its gear slot, or appropriate gear slot. So heavy assault launchers. So out of everything in here, it does the most damage. Best defense though is very close. It's about 3,000 less, and it has a much higher. It has a much more punishing recharge, but it has an area of a radius, so it has an area of effect. Oh, that's why. That's why I forgot about that. That's why Jared's hammer was comboing the group of enemies, because it has its combo effect is blast. That's why. Okay, that makes more sense. So if you're going to be comboing with it, you'll be able to hit a group of enemies, but if it's not a combo, it's only going to be to that one enemy type. That makes a lot more sense now. But back to what comparing, because I think these are the only 2 detonators. No, again and again, but we'll go over that one later. And again actually does less damage than best defense. Like, was it recharge? Yeah, the recharge is the same. Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of the thing. If you want to deal with like a group of enemies, you probably are going to want to take this. Plus, when you hit all those enemy types, doesn't matter if they're primed or not. If you hit a group of enemies with this, for every enemy type you hit, you'll get 35 armor restored. So per each enemy. So if you hit like 3 enemies, you pretty much get 100% of armor back. So this one really has a lot of survivability to it. Where this one, it just has a little bit more damage, and it's more powerful against armored enemies. And then you have an extra charge, which you really having 1 extra charge on this, you probably don't even need rolls with more gear charges or quicker recharge, because if you have 1 charge at the time it takes in the animation, that's kind of the thing that's also a difference too. That might be, some might look at it and go like, oh, that's worse, is the charge up. But the thing is like, I don't even feel like I have to fully charge it. I feel like if I get like a couple notches away from it and let off, it does it. Where with the Rangers, Relentless Pursuit, I believe is what it's called. I don't know why I'm going to the forge. I'm not on the range right now. You have to charge that sucker till it's flashing yellow like this. Like if you let off like even a quarter of a second before it starts flashing yellow, it won't shoot. It will not release that the like pressure ball or whatever it is. Whatever that ability is. With this one, you don't even have to fully charge it. Like I'm able to let off like 3. If you look at those, like you see how like there's like a gauge there. If you let off about 3 before it gets to full charge, you can shoot this, and it doesn't seem to matter gear wise. It's like it auto fills. I can see it like it auto shoots up. So that's an interesting little detail. It still does require a charge, and if you let off a little too early, you're kind of like stuck in this animation of where you can't actually start charging it again. Yeah, I don't know if you can kind of see like it's kind of glowing. Like I'm kind of like just spamming it back and forth, and it's not actually letting me charge up in between. So, but you're gonna more than likely use this to like catch a group or prime a group of enemies, and then just hit one of them, and then you should hit like a few of the group back there, because it is combo blast, so it will have an area of effect across the group, and because it does a lot of damage, it should do a lot of damage to that one enemy type, and then detonate all the other ones with whatever your combo build is kind of running with. So let's go over the box checking, because we haven't done that yet. Is it efficient? It's pretty efficient. It does really good damage. It tracks really well. It can go all the way across the arena, which not all gear travels all the way across an arena like that. That's excessive. That's very far. That's really far. Ember's Lance is one of like the only things I know that pretty much has like almost to no limitations like this. The only thing is it does have a travel time, and it is a projectile, so it's going to operate that way. The recharge is actually really good, and then the Masterwork perk is, it's not something crazy like you have to basically hit 2 enemies at once with 1 mortar in a specific area, and you're limited on your range of what you can do with it. And then if you miss, the recharge for that gear is very punishing. It's nothing like that. I just have another charge. And what I'm saying, kind of what I was speaking to earlier, is you have 1 charge intrinsically, and then with the Masterwork perk, you have another charge. And then, as you can see, by like the time you charge this up, if you charge it all the way, you approximately should have another charge back. You might have to wait a couple seconds because, like I said, I'm using a recharge build that's got a lot of armor and recharge on it, so my gear is charging very quickly. That might be an issue you run into, but I think if you have like 1 extra charge, you should be fine. Having 3, I never exhausted all 3 charges the whole time I was in any of these dungeons. So yeah, I mean, I think it is efficient. Well, the argument I would assume that somebody would make towards that is it's only good against 1 enemy type at a time, right? Well, if you're consistently, and as we showcase in this video, if we're consistently priming enemies, not necessarily. I mean, it's still not going to give that full like initial damage to all the enemies because it's only detonating. That's going to be based on what your combo build is like, or what combo damage rolls you have. But in general, like, it's still going to do damage to a lot of enemy types. You're not going to be useless with this, is what I'm trying to get at. And then, is it viable? Well, it's a detonator, so you know my standpoints on those at this point. If it detonates, it's going to work towards the combo system, and if it works towards the combo system, you're going to get your ult a lot quicker, which means you get all your armor and your shield, and you're invincible for a little bit, and you get to do, based on your build, a lot of damage with your ult. And there's nothing really like holding it back. It's just general. There's nothing special about it that you have to do, or any crazy things that you have to like take cover and then pop out and get it and then come back, or nothing like that. You just use it. Pretty straightforward. And because it tracks so well to weak points on its own, or just enemy types on its own, it kind of makes it a little bit more viable, in my opinion, than a couple things. Because even Best Defense had that issue where I would miss pretty often, but it had such a large area of effect that it didn't really matter. So I think that's going to be up to the end user how they feel about that. And then is it fun? I was kind of having fun in here. I mean, it was kind of like a boring build, I guess, if I had to really categorize it. Like, I would set a group of enemies on fire, and then I would detonate them, and then I would just kind of come back and forth and kind of hit them one at a time, and then kind of wash and repeat, or sorry, rinse and repeat. Yeah. But it wasn't not fun, you know. It wasn't like so hard to use that I was just like, oh, this is so annoying. You know, I didn't have any of those issues where I was like, oh, I just don't want to use this gear. It's just not enjoyable. It's too hard to use. There's so many problems with it. It's really straightforward. It's real simple, and it kind of it's like it's got a handicap, or it. Let's see how I want to word that. It just kind of makes things a little bit easier. But it looks like somebody's coming in here. So I'm gonna call it fun. So I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I wouldn't. Oh no, just thumbs up. Just thumbs up. Sorry. I got distracted. Oh hey. Anyways, I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I'm gonna go up here while they probably want to clear out this dungeon. So basically, I'll give it a thumbs up. I don't see anything bad about it. I wouldn't waste coin on it per se to get it if it shows up in the regulator store. I would just, if you get it in a drop, just hold on to it. If you really wanted to, you might want to try and get one with 1 extra charge and some gear damage on it. But overall, I wouldn't drop coin on it. It's nothing special. It's not going to change the way you play the game. But I want to get out of here. I'll see if I can help this guy clear his stronghold. I'm Defeated Rescue, and hope to see you guys out in Bastion later.